Does everybody have a sheet? Good. Thank you. Just have to arrange the candles just right. All right. Phones off, everybody. It's always good to make sure. Okay. Good. Okay. It says it's 8 o'clock. It feels like it is, doesn't it? Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Chandra. Nice to see you. How are you? Good? Surviving the full moon eclipse? Yeah. Yeah. Did anybody see it? It was pretty cloudy this morning, wasn't it?
I woke up to look at it.
Yeah.
The clouds were
Yeah.
raining.
Yeah. I forgot. So I guess it's the red badger moon. It's kind of loud. Which is funny, I didn't even know that was a thing. The badger moon.
I thought it was a
Beaver moon. Totally different. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, is it up high? Yeah, I think it felt good to have it around 71. It's back there. Yeah. Inside, right here. Right here. Oh, turn the volume down, yeah, and the heat. So we'll start with our prayer. What do we do about 11 reps tonight to support the learning of our opening prayer to Narayani. It's the prayer at the very top of your sheet. And a little note about prayers and mantras. It's nice if you don't put them directly on the floor. So like you could even use a block or a pillow or your blanket or a bag or a sweatshirt as a little, it doesn't have to be a fancy table, just something as a sign of respect. We don't step over them or on them or sit on them. These are, words that are just words on one level, but on another level, they bring about, realization and blessings. And for that reason, historically, traditionally, it's taught to treat texts, sacred texts, and words like mantric words and so on with respect. Yeah. So don't sit on them, don't step on them. And and if you take these home, put them on your shrine or on a bookshelf somewhere that's, respectful rather than like wrinkled up in the back seat of your car. Okay, so at the top of the front page is Sharanagata Dinarta. Repeat after me. We'll do line by line, and then we'll chant it together 11 times. And then the meaning is below, so in your own time you can read the meaning. Essentially, this is us kind of taking refuge in the goddess as Narayani, the goddess of form, the goddess of embodiment, the goddess of all beings, as a place of refuge in the vast ocean of samsara, right? So that we founder in the ocean of samsara when we forget who we are. And so we're going to the goddess and saying, please offer your, shelter of your embrace and help us, the downtrodden, find relief from suffering and liberation. Sharanagata Dinarta. Your turn. Sharanagata Dinarta Paritrana Parayane Paritrana Parayane Sarvasyarti Hare Devi Sarvasyarti Hare Devi Narayani Namostute Narayani Namostute. Good. So now we'll do it 11 times. Take a few breaths and settle in. Feel your breath in your belly. And let the tension of the day melt down towards the floor like rain falling from the sky. And we'll begin together. Sharanagata dinartha paritrana parayane sarvasyarti hare devi narayani namostute. Sharanagata dinartha paritrana parayane sarvasyarti hare devi narayani namostute. Sharanagata dinartha paritrana parayane sarvasyarti hare devi narayani namostute. Sharanagata dinartha paritrana parayane sarvasyarti hare devi narayani namostute. Sharanagata dinartha paritrana parayane sarvasyarti hare devi narayani namostute. Sharanagata dinartha paritrana parayane sarvasyarti hare devi narayani namostute. Sharanagata dinartha paritrana parayane sarvasyarti hare devi narayani namostute. Sharanagata dinartha paritrana parayane sarvasyarti hare devi narayani namostute. Sharanagata dinartha paritrana parayane sarvasyarti hare devi narayani namostute. Sharanagata dinartha paritrana parayane sarvasyarti hare devi narayani namostute. Sharanagata dinartha paritrana parayane sarvasyarti hare devi narayani namostute. Sharanagata dinartha paritrana parayane sarvasyarti hare devi narayani namostute. Sharanagata dinartha paritrana parayane sarvasyarti hare devi narayani namostute. Thank you. Okay. Any questions about that? Please scoot forward, come forward, even in your chair if you want to stay in the chair, but it's nice to have a feeling of a little bit more closeness. Thank you. Yeah. Do you like that? Is that a nice experience for you? Or chanting can be really therapeutic. Yeah? And so I have um, a deep love for it, and my teachers have done it with me a lot. So I feel it's an important thing to bring into this class. and share with you all. In a way, it kind of is a natural, almost like a replacement for the thinking mind. Sometimes it's hard to just sit quietly and attend to the breath. How many people have a hard time with that? Yeah, a lot of people do. I do too, actually. We all have different styles, right? We have different dispositions. Some people find it easy. Some people find other forms of meditation more accessible, like chanting or contemplative, discursive forms of meditation, like metta, loving kindness practice, or tonglen. We've done that, I think, once or twice in here, maybe once, where you're actually using the mind to cultivate certain qualities or visualization. Or dzogchen, which is a completely different style of meditation and yet very similar. Hey, come on in, Mary Claire. Hi, it's okay. And so I just want you to know that there's not one way to meditate. You probably already know this, right? There are many different ways, and there are different phases in our life where different techniques, different tools will speak to us more than others. It's not one size fits all for any one person in particular or for any phase in your life. So it's good to be responsive to your needs, to have a little bag of tricks up your sleeve, or so to speak, like, okay, I can do mantra, I can do breath awareness, I can do space meditation like Dzogchen. And so the mantra for me has been a very powerful form of meditation. And the Buddha taught that there are many, many. There are as many forms of meditation as there are people on the planet. Okay. So if mindfulness of breathing or mantra recitation don't work for you, that's okay. There's something that will work for you. So we can talk about that. You can ask about that in class. And to that end, I thought I would do something a little different tonight. I don't usually talk a lot in this class. It's not how I conceived of this class, but at the same time, questions have come to me after class, the last couple classes, that made me feel like, oh, there's a hunger for a little bit more teaching. So I thought I would give a little bit tonight, and then we'll practice. We'll do a little yoga like we do with our joint mobilizations, and then we'll sit. Okay, so I'll talk for maybe 15 minutes. And what I thought I would share is the view that I'm coming from, the view of this course, this series that is ongoing. You can drop in or you can come consistently. The idea is that you'll get something out of it regardless. And the theme is, of course, releasing into presence. And what that comes from is my foundational practice and study over the years, really since I was young, because I grew up in this tradition. I'm like what they call a Dharma brat, somebody who grew up in the sanghas, for better or for worse, the functional and dysfunctional spiritual communities. How many people in the room are Dharma brats? There might be a few more in here. We're in Berkeley, the odds are higher, but maybe not. Okay, so I swore as a teen that I would never be a part of any spiritual community because of what I experienced in these Dharma communities, which was sometimes just comedic and other times quite traumatic. But then when I met my teacher, Lama Tsultrim Malioni, a woman, Western woman who had been a Tibetan Buddhist nun and then disrobed and had a family and had kids, and her orientation is very much towards EQ, emotional intelligence. We do feeding your demons practice, which is one way of meeting and befriending, feeding, not fighting, our so-called challenges in our life, the so-called demons. And that reminds me, I wanted to let you know, I'm going to guide that experience next week. Okay? So, yeah. So I'll give you a little intro. Yeah, it's going to be cool. And then I'll guide you in the experience called Feeding Your Demons. So I'll give more of that talk next week. But Yeah, there's a lot to that, but there's plenty of resources if you're curious, if you want to know, do I even want to come to that? You could also Google it and you'll see some talks by me, you'll see some talks by my teacher, Lama Tsoltrim, some guided experiences on YouTube. It's easy to find stuff to read and give yourself a little sense if that's something you want to do, but I would highly recommend it because it's one thing to sit quietly and befriend thoughts or try to just learn to be with yourself. That's the point of meditation for the most part. But sometimes our mindfulness isn't as strong as our demons, right? So our lack of mindfulness, and then we're kind of drowning, and we're thinking I should be able to tackle this, but I'm drowning. So feeding your demons is a nice tool, a little trick to have in your toolbox or your sleeve box or up your sleeve or whatever metaphor that is. So um, that'll be next week, feeding your demons. But this week, I want to give you this sense of the view of the main theme of this course so that you know where I'm coming from, and that will inform your approach, your practice, your engagement with this work. So, my background is in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, namely that of Dzogchen. How many people have heard of Dzogchen? Okay, good. Dzogchen, for those of you who haven't heard of it, it means the great perfection. Dzog means complete or perfect. It's like the circle, it's complete as it is. Chen means great. It's actually the Tibetan word for maha in Sanskrit, like the great. Maha, right? And so Dzogchen is the Tibetan word. Mahaati or Ati Yoga, Mahasandhi, those are Sanskrit names for the same lineage. And the essential teaching of Dzogchen, the essential view of Dzogchen, is that we are already perfect as we are. Dzogchen, we are already complete, perfectly complete as we are. We have just lost our way, we've forgotten who we are. And the path of meditation is about finding our way back. The metaphor is like someone who lives in a house their whole life and goes traveling around the world looking for their pot of gold to only return home to find that it's been buried underneath their floorboards the whole time, right? So when we meditate, whether it's Vipassana, Dzogchen, Zen, you name it, because most of them are based on this premise, is that we are already perfect as we are. That's called Buddha nature. And that we've lost our way because of ignorance, because of karma, because of countless lifetimes of being born again and again and again and again, infinite amount of time, so infinitely that you have at some point been my parents and I have at some point been your parents. We're all related. We're one big family. It might be hard to stomach, and you can also take that as a metaphor that that even each breath we're taking in this room makes us family, right? We're sharing the same stardust. We are sharing the same air. In any case, we're already perfect as we are. And so any sense of striving for perfection, for working towards enlightenment, is actually a fool's errand and leads us farther away from that pot of gold underneath the floorboards. So, how do we then come home to ourselves? We release. We release the struggle. We release the striving. We release our grasping onto our sense of self, identity, labels, other, objective reality, internal reality, as being all of those things, as being solidly existent, independent, intrinsically existing things in and of themselves, right? So that's the illusion, is that I'm over here, you're over there. But in fact, yes, I mean, you're you, I'm me. At the end of the night, I'll get in my car and I'll go home to my house. You'll get in your car and you'll go home to your house. We are separate on a relative level, and that's a good thing. But on an ultimate level, we are kind of, in a sense, all a part of Indra's net, that infinite psychedelic net where at every juncture of the net is a multifaceted jewel. And within that, reflected in that jewel, we see every other jewel. So all the other universes are reflected within that one universe, so to speak. And so that interconnected web is what we are a part of. That's the air we breathe, the stardust we're a part of, the consciousness, in a sense, that we all share, that heart space that transcends space and time. And so each of us are these individual sparks of Buddha nature, of the greater consciousness. And so meditation is about releasing the scaffolding, releasing the tensions, releasing the concepts, the assumptions, the patterning that keeps us feeling separate, that keeps us afraid. Because what are we fundamentally afraid of? Well, we're afraid of death, right? I mean, I am a little bit, maybe a lot, if I admit it. Still, that's all right. I've got kids. I don't want to die. And you probably don't want to die even if you don't have kids. But there's that existential fear of obliteration, of annihilation, that keeps us contracted to a certain extent, that keeps us bound. And in my experience, that lives right at the brainstem. It's that final inability or terror of letting go into what I call the abyss. This came to me in retreat one time, that I was so terrified of unwinding that final grasp, that final separate, that feeling of like Chandra. It's like precognitive. It's biological, really, sometimes. Because there was this precognitive fear of annihilation, of being lost in the abyss. And then some little voice, far into the retreat, 3-week retreat, towards the end, said to me, "Hello, the abyss is bliss. Let go." And then there was this, and then then there was a release into that. And what I realized when I released into that was that scared child Chandra that was holding on for so long was actually welcome in that space too. There was no annihilation. There was just a more expansive experience of who I am. And so for me, that's when this articulation of releasing into presence started to take form. It's nothing new. I'm not claiming enlightenment. That was just one little aha moment. And what the task that all of us have is to get to a point where we can have a moment like that and then stabilize that. Have it again and again and again and again. They say that's the sign of an awakened being, is somebody who's stabilized that, who's thread that pearl necklace. So it's not just little pop, little momentary, occasional, random moments. So that's why we come together to practice. And that's why we find ways to breathe those experiences into our daily life. So releasing into presence for me comes from that. And that's what I mean by the whole premise of this class, is whether it's through breath, through meditation, through mantra, singing devotionally with kirtan, or Jayarsi meditation, yoga, we're all coming at it from those different angles of helping us release the tightness that keeps us feeling like that we are separate, that we are unfulfilled, that we have to go buy something in order to get happy, and find and remember that we have those resources within us. So if you remember only one thing from tonight, from this whole class series, Maybe it could be the abyss is bliss, or shorthand, welcome to the abyss. I'm working on it. The abyss. Do you like that, Mary Claire? It's pretty good, isn't it? It's pretty good, doesn't it? The abyss is bliss. That turns it on its head, And then we're all welcome in that space together. There's Chogyam Trungpa, one of the great Dzogchen teachers of the 20th century. He was an iconoclast. He was controversial, but he wrote brilliant books and was a wonderful teacher on many levels. He would often say, look, meditation and the process of the ego dissolution, the small sense of self dissolution, is, in the beginning, it's terrifying because you feel like you've stepped off a cliff, like you're free falling, and you don't want to do that. You're going to die. But he said, what you realize is once you've started the tumble, when you've started falling, is that there is no ground. There's no ground. So then you're just skydiving, and then you stop being so terrorized, and then you can start to dance in space. That's the Dakini principle, is the sky dancer. You start to play. You start to fly. And that's this great, beautiful goddess in Hindu and Buddhist Tantra named Kechari. And literally it means dancing in space. And she's an analogy, or she represents that experience of the mind entering into oneness, or the central channel, if you're talking about yogic anatomy, where you enter into that infinite space. And the mind, consciousness, can dance in that infinite space. So this is a common metaphor of the free fall. And then you're like, wait a minute. Oh, wait, I have wings. I can fly. Come play with me. So that's the premise of Dzogchen, this releasing into presence. I'm not making up anything new. These are the ancient teachings where we release into a natural state of mind, our natural presence, which is your own true nature. It's nothing fancy. It's your own pristine awareness. But, and I'll stop with this and then we'll practice it. There's a certain point where you drop beneath, in meditation, usually, you drop beneath the surface mind, which is, the active speaking mind. It's always wandering here and there. After some time, you start to sift through that and it gets quieter. And then you drop into this, what's called the substrate consciousness, the alaya vijnana, which is in a sense like preconditioned consciousness. It's still within samsara. It's very quiet and it can be very pleasurable. But that's not the final depth. So it's very important as meditators, we can recognize like, oh, I'm in this really blissful place, but then this is kind of advanced, so you don't have to worry too much about it. But there's this practice called trekche, which means to break through, where you break through substrate consciousness into the more depths of your rigpa, your pristine awareness, primordial consciousness, however you want to translate that. And that is Buddha nature. That is absolute nature of mind. So in the coming weeks, I'll continue to tease these themes out, help you understand the map of what we're doing with meditation. Okay? So we're lucky, I think most of us, if just the mind gets a little quiet and we can experience some pleasure, some bliss, some good, like meditative pleasure. When the discursive mind settles into the substrate, the alaya vijnana, the experience is often described as threefold: bliss, non-conceptuality, and clarity. De sel mitokpa. De is bliss, sel is clarity, mitokpa is non-conceptuality. Those are experiences of a quiet, very foundational consciousness. And it's within that foundational consciousness, sometimes called the ground consciousness, where all of our little karmic patterns are just lying like dormant seeds, right? So it can be very quiet. And then if some ripening happens, some condition wants to trigger that, then the seed pops up and sprouts. It's through vipashyana, insight, that we probe through with trekchö, that we break through that ground into the bigger depths of the vastness, the true potential of our mind, which is rigpa, our pristine awareness, vidya in Sanskrit. Mhm. So I think I'll stop there because I don't want to get too conceptual, but I just want you to know a bit about the map of where I'm coming from. So when I guide you in practice, I'm systematically bringing you to those experiences. Okay. So we often start with some form of breath awareness. And then I'll invite you to open the eyes and do settling the mind in its natural state, where we take the mind as the object, and that's getting us more to that substrate experience, because that is the substrate, essentially. And then if we can taste the awareness of the awareness, the final third phase, that's getting us a little bit closer to Rigpa, but that's a whole nother, don't rush there. It's, all in good time. Okay. Is that clear? Yeah? Okay, so now we're going to practice. Yeah? So now go ahead and stand up. We'll do some joint mobilizations before we sit to create a nice, comfortable situation in the body. We'll take our standing posture called stamba, with the heels slightly touching, the toes turned out. Take your right hand against the navel, the left hand on top. Gaze at a comfortable angle towards the floor. Feel the tailbone reaching down towards the heels, the crown of the head reaching up towards the heavens, the shoulder blades releasing down away from the ears. And feel the breath beneath the palms. The chest is buoyant. The chin is slightly drawing in towards the center of the throat, lengthening the back of the neck. Soften the muscles of the face. And release the lower jaw away from the upper jaw. And lastly, feel the bones of the feet spread against the floor. See if you can taste that releasing into presence in this posture. Relax tension from the base of the skull, from the jaw, from the heart and the belly. Good. And so now release the hands from the navel. Bring the heels parallel. Take your right foot and bring it back a little bit behind the level of the left foot, and then take the weight on top of the toes. And we'll do 10 rotations to the right. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let the navel draw back towards the spine. 8, 9, 10. Other side. Really plant that standing leg. Foot is behind you a bit. Good. And 1. Rotating outwards. 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, the navel draws back towards the spine. Lift up through the crown of the head. 8, 9, 10. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Standing equal, hip width distance apart, coming up and release the chin down. We'll do 5 reps of circling to the right and then the left, each direction. 1, 2. Now, if you get dizzy, you can do a lateral stretch. I'll show you that if you're curious. You can just go side to side a few times. You could also go front to back. Otherwise, keep doing the circles. 4 and 5. And then reverse. 1, 2. One way to release is to release your awareness down into the soles of your feet. Feel the shin bones rooting into the feet, the bones of the feet relaxing against the floor. Last circle. And 5. Inhale, face to neutral. Exhale here. And then shoulders. Forward, up, down, and back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. 9, 10. And reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep the breath nice and deep, but even, natural. 9 and 10. Now the wrists. Interlace them in front of the face. Rotate the wrist double time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now spiral the arms to your right. 1, and then you tap. 2, 3, let the head go. 4, front hand taps the shoulder point. Back hand taps the kidney point. Little love taps. Feel the spiral all the way through the spine. 10 in each direction. And again, keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hips. 1, making circles, small, medium, or large, according to your back, your body. So the feeling is like you're already meditating. You're already releasing into presence. This is all just like foreplay to meditation, so that when you sit down on your cushion, you're already there, actually. You arrive naturally. So let go. Is there any sighing that has to happen? Any deep breath and let go? And then reverse. 1, 2. This is the feeling my teacher used to say, you're kind of drunk here. You're like Elvis, pelvis, Elvis, pelvis, pelvis, Elvis. You're just loose. Chest is soft, the face is soft, the arms just dangle, you're not efforting, you're just flowing. And last time, stepping the feet together now, bend from the back of the knees forward, hands above the knees on the thighs, and circle the knees. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Reverse. 1, 2. Lengthen the neck. Relax the shoulders. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Coming up. Feet hip width distance apart. Sarpa, the snake. And waving. 1, 2. This can be a small movement or a big movement. 3. The idea is to just feel the wave ripple up through the body from the soles of the feet to the crown of the head. You close your eyes and really let it loose here. Don't overthink it. Just feel it. I'm not watching you, don't worry. I'm not judging. A few more. This one's so nice. I like to sometimes do twice as many, or just lose count and do it until it feels good. Last few. Last one. And with this one, inhale the arms up. Chin down, hold the breath, wave the hands, and then as you cross the face, exhale now. So there's a little bit of breath control here, a little pranayama. Inhale, raise the arms, look up at the sky if you can. When you're full, hold the breath in, press the hands down, then exhale when the hands pass in front of the face. Again, inhale, broad through the shoulders, like your wings are opening. And then exhale. Remember what we did before. If you were here, the back of your hands touch and roll outward. Your heels simultaneously come in a little bit. Toes parallel now. And then place the hands underneath the feet if you can. If you can't squat like that, that's okay. Come up either on the fingertips or on the thighs. Take care of your knees. Let's exhale together here. This is called kaki. When you're ready, inhale, pucker the lips, look up, and suck the air in through the mouth. Then close the mouth, exhale through the nose. Release the neck, the face is soft. Again, inhale as you look up, pucker the lips. This is the crow beak. And then close. Exhale through the nose. Last one. Inhale through the mouth. Look up with your eyes way up. How high can you look? Closing, exhale. Then come off the hands. Inhale. Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Then exhale, bowing. If you need to bend the knees, you can. Take 3 breaths here. If you want, you can bring the feet hip width distance, and then you can also interlace the fingers. We don't do this very often, but you can do it now if you want. Interlace the fingers behind you to stretch the shoulders. And then releasing the hands. And from here, we're going to actually squat down, come to our seat. We'll come into our meditation seat. So whether that's in a chair or on a cushion, it's up to you. Yeah, so we'll do about a 40-minute sit tonight. Yeah, so don't be shy. Take the next 15, 30 seconds to make sure you've got what you need, because I really want to encourage you to sit as still as possible, okay? I don't want to be too uptight about it, but it really creates a quality for you and the room if we can all be as still as possible. So if you need to get in a chair, or if you need to do a supine position with your head on a pillow, you can do that as well. Allow the eyes to close as you come into your meditation posture. Take some deep breaths and releasing tension with the out breath. Really feel that you're arriving naturally in stillness, unforced. And if you wish, take a moment to rock the pelvis forward and back a little bit to find your plumb line so that you're aligned with gravity, that you feel the pelvis supported. Mhm. And then finding that center point and coming into stillness. If your pelvis were a fishbowl of water, it wouldn't spill forward or back. It's nice and level. Shoulders releasing down the back, the chest is buoyant. The arms are relaxed, and in Dzogchen, we just practice simply with the palms face down on the thighs, a natural posture at ease. Now, of course, if you want to do the mudra of meditative equipoise, feel free to do that with the thumbs touching the right hand inside of the left. That's viable as well. Let's take about 10 breaths with a conscious inhale and exhale. The inhalation as if you're pouring water into a vase. The vase is your torso, and it fills with the breath from the base to the middle to the top. And with the out breath, you're pouring the water out of the vase, emptying from the top, the middle, and the bottom. So if you know the Ujjayi breath, the slight constriction at the base of the throat, you can do that now. Inhale, filling from the base to the top. Exhale, emptying from the top to the base. Bring the tip of the tongue to rest against the upper palate. And let the lower jaw release away from the upper jaw. The cheeks go slack. The muscles of the face, in a sense, melt. And now gently release any control of the breath. Let the breath be natural. If it's long, let it be long. If it's short, let it be short. Shifting into a simple mindfulness of the breath means that we no longer try to create anything. A long breath, a deep breath, we let that go. And we simply observe what is here now, the breath in the body. Held within this simple quality of presence, the quality of being in the moment with whatever is here right now. Mindfulness of the breath can be done in many ways, but in this course we tend to Attend to the field of sensations of the breath as it moves in through the nostrils or the mouth, down the throat, filling the lungs, the belly, the diaphragm, and then the emptying of the breath, the flow of air, the texture, the temperature. Let the mind alight upon the field of tactile sensations in the body as you breathe in and out. And what do we do with thoughts and distractions? We release. Release and return to the breath. Release fixation. Release grasping. Like a child releasing the strings of a bundle of balloons. Just let them go. You drift off into space, and you're left with your breath in this moment, in the body. The Buddha offered a gati, a phrase like a mantra to help us stay with the breath in the body. If you wish, you can use it. I'll offer it to you now. It's simply attending to the whole body, I breathe in. Attending to the whole body, I breathe out. So internally reciting that to yourself with the in and the out breath. Attending to the whole body, I breathe in. Attending to the whole body, I breathe out. You can shorten it to attending body, breathe in. Attending body, breathe out. And let that anchor the wild mind in your body, in the moment. The next gati, focusing on relaxation, releasing of tension, soothing the field of the body. I breathe in, soothing the field of the body. I breathe out. The field of the body is the whole field of tactile sensations from the crown to the soles of the feet, periphery of the skin, the warmth, the movement, the coolness. The gati is soothing the field of the body. I breathe in, soothing the field of the body. I breathe out. You can simply shorten it, soothing body. Breathe in, soothing the body. Breathe out. And let that meaning suffuse your being, anchor your mind within a relaxed atmosphere. Soothing the body. Breathe in. Soothing the body. Breathe out. Now shifting into the next phase of practice, settling the mind in its natural state. Gently, slowly, mindfully begin to open your eyes and gaze at a comfortable angle towards the floor. Soften the gaze. Feel like you could see 360 degrees around you. Soften the muscles behind the eyes, around the eyes, the muscles of the face. Let a feeling of awe, of astonishment wash over the face. Even letting the jaw go slack, the mouth may open a little. That's okay. Let the mindfulness of the breath fade into the background. It's still there, but it's maybe just 5-10% of your attention. And to the foreground shifts the domain of the mind itself, that ground consciousness within which thoughts arise and pass. The space or the domain of the mind now is the focus, is the anchor. And thoughts are not a problem. In this phase of the practice, we just observe them arising and passing like birds flying through the space of your mind. They don't change the mind. Like a bird flying through space, it doesn't change the appearance of space. Fatigue, excitement, fantasy, regret, all of these colors of the mind are just appearances arising from the ground and dissolving back into the ground. Rather than fixating or attending or clinging onto thoughts, just to observe them arising and passing in that space of the mind and stabilize your awareness of that space of the mind. It's called settling the mind in its natural state. Feel free to blink or close the eyes whenever you need to. Don't strain. And when in doubt, release. Release distraction. Release tightness. Release effort even. And allow the mind to settle in its own place, in its own nature. Let the body be still. Notice the impulse to move and see if you can let it pass. And then gently begin to let the eyes close and feel. Feel this metaphor of the mind being like the moon. Like the moon, it in fact is always round, it's always full. And yet, day by day, throughout the course of the waxing and waning of the month, the appearance of the moon itself changes. Just like the mind, it appears to change depending on the mood, the appearances that arise within the mirror of the mind seem to make it change. But in meditation, we taste that truth of it always being full. In fact, the unchanging, the undying, natural radiance of the mind is like that full moon in the sky, appearing to change, yet always full, always present in its completeness, that Dzogchen, that great perfection, the nature of your own mind. And we'll conclude our meditation with a few minutes of chanting the mantra Tara, Om Namo Arya Tara. Om Namo Arya Tara means Om, I pay homage to the noble Tara, the Savioress. Just follow along with me. Om Namo Arya Tara, 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 Om Namo Arya Tara. And let's take a moment to dedicate any positive energy we've cultivated as a community for the benefit of all beings everywhere. If you wish, you can take a moment to really think of, envision people, animals, places in your mind's eye that may need the blessing of the generosity waves, the jinlap of blessings like the sound emanating in all directions, bringing peace, bringing good election results, bringing food, water, safety, liberation to all beings everywhere. Thank you. So we have a few minutes for any questions, any comments, observations that you might have. Just a few minutes. Yes.
So a couple times you've brought up how if you put your hands in front of you, you're supposed to put one hand. I feel like you're very specific about which hand.
Yeah. It's like in Buddhism and Tantric Buddhism in particular, but all forms of Buddhism, everything means something, right? So there are different traditions, but the one that I've learned is to place the right hand on top of the left, and then the two thumbs meet. Why? Well, the left hand represents wisdom. The right hand represents skillful means or compassion. And so your compassion or your method, your skillful means should always be couched or held up or supported by wisdom. Okay? So that's and then the thumbs meeting here mean the non-duality or the union between the two. So this is called the mudra of meditative equipoise. And then it's nice to have a little cushion. I like to, this is just my metaphor of cushion, have a little support so that then there's a little space, some air to breathe underneath the armpits. So we're not like that, but there's more of a circular space and energy flow here. So that can be a really nice method. I don't know if in Zen, have you learned it in another way? Zen might be different.
I mostly in Theravada. I've never heard of any specific guidance about hands.
Oh,
So
interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I've my main, tradition is the Tibetan, and then through other teachers, I've dabbled a little bit in Vipassana style, but I'm not quite sure about any. There's always a variation, right? So that's the meaning of that. The left hand. So in Tantra, the left side is associated, if we're doing heteronormative languaging in Tantra, which is heteronormative, we have to admit. The left side is associated with the feminine, which is associated with wisdom in the Tantric and also Mahayana Buddhism. So the feminine principle in Buddhism is all about the wisdom principle. Wisdom, what kind of wisdom? Wisdom into reality, which in essence is understanding emptiness, the interdependent, empty nature of all phenomena. That's wisdom in Buddhism. And that is represented by the feminine, like the womb of totality, the great mother is emptiness. Then the right hand is at the right side of the body, the right channel of the settled body is associated with the enlightened masculine, which is interestingly aligned with what's called skillful means. And that should always be imbued with compassion. So I love that the masculine is associated with compassion. Like a good balanced masculine enlightened energy is very loving, it's very compassionate. And that compassion should always suffuse our actions. Now we all have those elements within us. Some, we may have more than others. Maybe we're naturally more compassionate or more wise, they say that the wisdom and the compassion are like two wings of the bird to enlightenment. We need both. Otherwise, we fly in circles. So the wisdom should always support the compassion, meaning don't have idiot compassion, they call it, where you're just a bleeding heart, right? You're giving everything and you're giving away all your wealth and the kids don't have anything, like that kind of idiot compassion. Or you don't have boundaries. You're always giving, and then you realize, wait a minute, what about me? So the wisdom helps you draw your boundaries. It helps you know when to stop. It helps you see clearly things. Whereas wisdom without compassion is another pitfall, right? It can get stark. It can be too intellectual. It can be disconnected from the heart. So we always need the heart to imbue the wisdom. Okay? So that's the meaning all wrapped up in this little mudra. So you can be like, okay, my skillful means and compassion are supported by my wisdom. And then they unify right like that. So yeah, we're at time. Okay, good. I'll sit here for a little bit longer if you want to come up and say hi or ask a question. I'm happy to talk a little bit. Otherwise, thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed. And please put your pillows back. Do you need to make any announcements about anything? No? Okay. Thanks for your help. Appreciate it. Yeah. If you want to volunteer, there are opportunities to volunteer. To come a little early, help set up, help check people in. They're always needing support. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Yeah. You can keep them or you can leave them, I think, at the front desk. Put them back at the front desk. Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome. Good to see you. I'll turn off my mic. So if you come and ask a question, you won't be broadcast.